Feel free to comment if you have any questions while I'm doing this. These were all things that were right on my blog, but I'm going to show you them in person just so that you know what I'm talking about, okay? So the first one I'm going to talk about is removing unwanted layers. So these are images from our flower market collection. And if I were going to be making this, let's say that I decided, you know what, my ribbon is going to be in burlap, so I don't need to cut that out, and I want to actually use gold gems on my little flowers. So I can just go over here. The hidden layers are shown by these little eyeballs. I like to tell people it kind of reminds me of, you know, when people say the all-seeing eye, you know, there it is, you can see it. If the eye is open, if you close it, it goes away. So for the ribbon, if I click on it, then the ribbon's not there. Now, the ribbon still exists in my project, but because I've clicked on that hidden layer, it won't cut out. Now, I could just go and delete this, but let's say that maybe later on I am going to want to use this project again and I want to use the ribbon. Instead of having to go back, search for the mason jar vase, make sure that the ribbon size correctly, it's much easier for me to just hide it. I'm going to do the same thing with the centers. You can see they're grouped right here. And if I click on them, then they go away. They still exist in my project, but when I hit make it, they won't cut out. Okay, so that's one way of using the hidden layers. Let's look at, for example, if I were to make a mistake. That happens a lot. So every now and then I cut out, you know, quite a few images for some kits. Let's say I'm cutting out, you know, 5 or 6 of this little vase. And for some reason, my blade went bad and the little heart didn't cut out and these little you know, layers didn't cut out. So we're going to look and see, you can see here the vase is 2 layers. The heart is here and the background is here, but I'm going to need to recut this layer. So I'm going to hide the other layer. And then on the scabiosa, let's say this little outline, you know, my Cricut blade was bad, so all of this ended up jagged. So I'm only going to want to cut out that layer, so I'm going to hide the others. Okay, now the only images that are showing on my screen are the 2 that I need to cut. That means these still exist in the project. So if I click on them, they come back. Okay, if I click on that hidden layer, it comes back. But right now, if I were to hit make it, the only images that are going to show up on my mat are the ones that I want to cut, which is that scabiosa layer here and the vase layer here. And this is for when, you know, you make a mistake or something doesn't cut quite right. You can just recut only the images that you need. And then when I go back to my project by hitting cancel here, you will see that they were only hidden temporarily. And I can go back and I can click that hidden layers eyeball, make it visible again, and the layers still exist in my project, okay? And that's for like if you make mistakes or you just only need to cut out certain pieces of your project. All right, let's look at what happens sometimes with our fonts. Every now and then, Cricut likes to mess with me and make me think that I'm going crazier than I already know that I am. So they, oh, wrong button, hold on. They will have hidden layers in their fonts. So we're going to pull up this next design. And like I said, all of these were written down on my blog post, but I know some of you just really like to be able to look at it in person. So we're going to look at this little sentence. Let's see, I don't know why that whole thing didn't type up. Let's see. It's there. Let's try that. Okay, so I'm going to go to my fonts here. I've already typed this. I'm going to go down to the drop-down menu in my font or in my text edit panel here. And I'm going to filter, let's see, I want multi-layer fonts. Now you can see some of these I have to pay for and some of these are free. But I'm going to use the Three Birds Life's a Party. And when I click on it, like I said, Cricut Design Space makes me think that I've lost my mind. And I'm looking at it going, no, wait, there's only one layer here. There's not a second layer. What happened to them saying that this was a second layer? I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so we can see it. And every now and then Cricut just does this to us. There is a second layer there. What happened if you look over in the layers panel here, that second layer automatically was hidden when it came into your canvas. So all you have to do is click the hidden layers eye there, makes that second layer appear so it's visual again. And you really haven't lost your mind. That layer is there. It just appeared hidden. Now, I would suggest if you are using fonts like this that have the two layers, have a shadow layer, always keep them grouped. Don't ungroup them. If you ungroup them and then try to resize, there's a chance that your layers won't match up correctly. So as you're resizing, make sure you're keeping these two layers grouped together. All right. Now, the last one we're going to do, this is what I like to use the hidden layers feature just to make my life easier sometimes when I'm in Design Space. Okay, so we're going to go to the Flower Market cartridge here. This is one of my favorite collections. If you don't own the Flower Market collection, honestly, this is one I use quite a bit. It is not just flowers. There's tons of titles. Great images. I mean, surfboards, that's not a flower. Okay, so I'm going to look for, I need the lilac on this one. You see down here, I've already inserted already chose the bucket, but I need a lilac image for this next one. I'm going to insert my images here. And then I'm going to sit and resize and do these real quick. So this is as if I was creating this little project for a scrapbook page or a card. And I've got my bucket that I'm going to use. Let's see if I can get it to kind of move here for me. And then I'm going to put some little lilacs in. We're going to pretend that we're making a little bucket of lilacs. My computer's being a little bit on the slow side. It could be Design Space. It could be my internet. Design Space recently did a little update on their plugin. If some of you have been playing with it recently, you'll know that they've updated the plugin, I think 2 or 3 times this weekend because there were quite a few little hiccups. Design Space Cricut does kind of stay on top of that when people complain and say, hey, something's not quite right here, you know. But unfortunately, in the midst of it, you do have to kind of endure the mess of Design Space as Cricut tries to fix it. I personally would not even want to consider, you know, trying to be a programmer for something like this and try to make everybody happy and try to make everything work all the time because, you know, I can barely get my my toaster to work some days if I'm happy. All right, so as you can see here, I'm just kind of arranging my little flowers in my bucket. This is something that I would do, you know, for a card. And I'm a very visual person, so I will sit here and I'll kind of mess with the bucket a little bit. And just kind of arrange everything using, you know, my different features here in Design Space. And so let's say I've got this little bucket going and I've decided I want to put text across here. So I'm going to put the word flora. And because I would really like it to be a script font. And when you do have script fonts, sometimes you want to, you know, weld them together and you want to make them look really, really cute. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to go through and try to find a font I like here. These are all ones that are on my computer. You can use fonts that you have downloaded. And I like to use a lot of script fonts. So we're going to pick this one. I'm going to change my font. But since I know that I'm going to have to weld those letters together or attach those letters together, it's easier for me. I could either do it off to the side here, but I kind of want to do it where I know the, oh, come on, move with me. I want to do it with the size of the bucket, if that makes sense, and I want to make sure it's going to fit the bucket. So I kind of drag it over the bucket and I kind of resize it here for a little bit. But if I were going to try to mess with these flowers right now, what would probably happen is I would, as I messed with them, I'd probably accidentally click on the bucket or I'd click on a flower and it would just frustrate me. So it's much easier for me to use the hide feature here, and I'll click on all of the images I'm not playing with at the moment. So that would be the flowers and the bucket. Okay, and so all that's left on my canvas right now is the word. I didn't delete anything. You can see they're still here in my layers panel. They're just hidden so that I can sit and I can mess with these little images here, and I can, you know, move my letters the way I want to move them. I'm actually going to zoom in here because it's easier for me to see if I zoom in. And you can sit and you can move your letters, you can arrange your letters, you can arc your letters, and you can just make them how you need to, however you need to manipulate them for your current project. All right, so right now I know that I'm going to have all of these welded so that they go right on top of the bucket. And I'm just arranging the letters how I would like them to appear. And I'm just going to select them all, if it lets me. There it goes. And I'm going to weld those together. And I'm going to zoom out so we can bring back the bucket. And my flowers. Like I said, they weren't deleted. They were just hidden for the time being. I'm going to scoot over so we can see them a little bit better. And now I can sit there and I can put my word right on top of my bucket, how it's going to appear in my project. I might have to resize it a little bit or recolor it, however I'd like it. But that allowed me to manipulate my image without messing with any of the other images around it. All right, so those are 4 ways that I like to use the hidden layers feature. One was making my life easier. The other one was, you know, sometimes we have hidden font layers and that might be hidden. You can use the hidden font layer for if mistakes happen and you just need to cut out single images. And you can also use it if you want to remove unwanted layers.